This is this. You know what I'm saying? This all I have in life is MMA, and this is what they're giving us. I don't have nothing else but MMA that makes me happy, and it hasn't made me happy in a year.
Hit the like and subscribe. UFC Atlantic City went down 2024. Aaron Blanchfield Fiorot was the main event. Chris Weidman was on the card, and the event was hot garbage.
It's like eating a hot circle of garbage.
In fact, this is two events in a row that haven't lived up to, well, they were just terrible.
Eric.
Terrible.
The UFC putting out all of these events every weekend is great for combat sports fans, but when it comes down to the quality of the cards, it really is underwhelming.
Boring.
We have been doing this show for 7 years. In August will be 8 years on YouTube, and I have watched every single UFC card. I have paid for every single UFC card. I pay for ESPN Plus. Everything the UFC asked me to pay for, well, I pretty much pay for.
I'm broke, nigga. I'm broke.
So with that being said, I feel like I have the right to speak my mind. When I was watching that event, Atlantic City, Fiorot, Blanchfield, I tried to stay as optimistic as possible. I had some bets on the card to make it a little bit more fun.
My bookie, promo code MMA-Holes for 10% match on your first deposit.
After watching all the fights, I felt empty. When the cards are lackluster, that's when we shine as a YouTube channel. We can all stick together and talk about how bad the stoppages were, how good the stoppages were, good judging, bad judging, the whole deal. But here, 7 years into doing this, I got to sit back and say, is the UFC mailing it in? A video popped up on X of the MMA Guru, who has completely blown up and found incredible success on YouTube covering the UFC. But as I watched this video, it really made me think, what are we doing here? Should we be praising the UFC? Should we be complaining about the UFC? Should we be reevaluating our lives? Let's listen to what MMA Guru had to say.
This is this. You know what I'm saying? This all I have in life is MMA, and this is what they're giving us. I don't have nothing else but MMA that makes me happy, and it hasn't made me happy in a year.
What? He sounds very depressed.
This is this. You know what I'm saying?
This is this. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't know. This is this.
This all I have in life is MMA, and this.
It's all I have in life is MMA. My man, you're in your 20s. This is all you have in life?
I'm frightened, Daddy. I'm frightened.
You were able to build a brand. You were able to be very successful. You're doing great right now. Shouldn't be depressed. You're monetizing watching UFC fights. It's a good gig. Think about this. And I don't know if you guys are in the same boat as MMA Guru, but how many people are in their 20s that spend every single weekend watching the UFC live? If you do, let me know in the comment section down below. I got into the sport a little bit late in life. My whole life, I've been a sports fan, a team sports fan. I like the New York Rangers. I like the New York Mets. I like the New York Giants. And I'm a Detroit Piston fan. Don't ask. I've had season tickets to the Giants. My mom had season tickets to the Rangers. In fact, she was at the 1994 Stanley Cup Finals. I've seen a lot of live sports in New York, and I'll always forever be a fan of my New York teams and the Pistons. When my New York Giants lose, I am very depressed. In fact, the whole week I am down and I don't want to be spoken to.
I'm so depressed.
But the difference between team sports and the UFC is sometimes you miss a bunch of games. If you're watching baseball, for instance, baseball has 162 games in a season. Chances are you're going to miss some. If you have something going on a Saturday night, you could still go out. You could still have a good time. You could still hang out with your friends. You can still get laid.
Got a number.
We got a number.
This all I have in life is MMA, and this is what they're giving us. I don't have nothing else but MMA that makes me happy, and it hasn't made me happy in a year.
I couldn't imagine being in my 20s, watching the UFC live every weekend, and sacrificing building memories with my friends, sacrificing getting laid. The prime night of the week is Saturday. That's the night where you go out and you have a good time. You work all week, you party on Saturday. I did this into my 30s, for God's sakes. I found the UFC in my 30s, and when I hit a low point, I started the YouTube channel, and for 7 straight years, I watched every fight live. But the difference is this. I already made the moments with my friends. I already got laid. I can't wrap my head around the fact of wasting my 20s and wasting every Saturday night watching the UFC live. And I love this sport, but I can't fathom sacrificing building those memories. Times to look back to. Because I needed to watch Erin Blanchfield fight Fiorot. When I was younger, if there was a big event on Saturday, I would watch it the next day. I would stay off social media. I would not talk to any of my friends. I would say, leave me alone. I'm going to watch the replay. But this man is in his prime. I truly respect this guy over here. He has built a massive following. But when you hear the pain in his voice, you can't help but think, my God, you're wasting your life. Some say that this is a bit. It's a shtick. He's trolling. I'm sorry, even if he is trolling, there is some seriousness. You could hear it in his voice. This guy is having a moment realizing instead of getting laid, he is watching Erin Blanchfield versus Fiorot.
This all I have in life is MMA, and this is what they're giving us. I don't have nothing else but MMA that makes me happy, and it hasn't made me happy in a year.
It could be a brilliant move to get clicks and have people making videos like this and talking about them. I think this does bring up an interesting conversation. A lot of fans of the UFC sacrifice their Saturday nights, pay the big pay-per-view prices, pay for ESPN Plus, buy the merch, go to the events, and this is what the UFC gives us. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? Blanchfield versus Fiorot. Why? Why? With cards like UFC 300 and cards like UFC 299, this is bound to happen. We're going to see fight nights that are a little bit lackluster. Back-to-back events, Ribas versus Namajunas, ass fight. Blanchfield versus Fiorot, ass fight. People were walking out during the main event. Did you see that? This woman right here and her husband, boyfriend, who knows, are they on a date? They just got up at round number 3, 2:36 left in the round, and said, I'm done. Look at these 3 fight cards in a row. We got Tybura versus Tuivasa, Namajunas versus Ribas, Blanchfield versus Fiorot. All trash, really. Chris Weidman eye-poked the crap out of Bruno Silva, and that ended weird. I don't know why Rice McKee is in the UFC. How the hell is Herbert Burns still in the UFC? Did anyone watch this fight live? What the hell was I watching? Petrosky shot in, hit his head off of, I think, the hip of Malkoun, fell down all weird, odd finish. Mini steroided Brock Lesnar effed up like 4 fights. A lot of people are yelling rigged. A lot of people are yelling fixed. A lot of people are yelling the UFC is trash these days. I'm getting comments constantly of people saying the UFC is garbage. So my question to you, do you think it's garbage? Do you want to see cards that are lackluster but have them every single weekend? Or would you rather see it more condensed, a more stacked card, but every other week? Me personally, I like the cards every weekend. It gives us something to talk about. It gives us content. But at the end of the day, I understand why the consumer is not happy. You're paying $85 for a pay-per-view. You're paying monthly fees for ESPN Plus. You're paying astronomical prices for tickets to go see the fights live. A member of our community paid $2,800 for one seat at UFC 300. I think the fans have a right to say enough is enough. The fans have a right to complain. This product is a little weak these days. UFC 300 looks like it's going to be a banger, but at what cost?
What'll it cost, man? What'll it cost?
I have a solution. The UFC needs to do this. Thursday nights, have a prospect night. Put a bunch of those Contender Series guys on a card, the lesser name fighters on a card, and have them be showcased on Thursday nights at the Apex. Give people a break on Saturdays. Have your monthly pay-per-views. Have fight nights in front of fans that aren't cards that just are complete trash. I have no idea how you go back to Atlantic City after 6 years and this is your main event. If you have Thursday night prospect nights, I would watch, and you can justify why it's at the Apex. Let's give the fans something more thought out. If you keep on having Saturday cards that are trash, you're going to lose a lot of the hardcore fans out there. You're charging $85 for pay-per-views. More people are going to just start stealing the fights. One of the reasons why this man is so successful, well, look at him. He's the average guy. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing with his hair. His beard is... He's a fucking hot mess. and he's miserable. He's defeated. He's in the prime years of his life, and he's wasting it watching a product that is subpar. So maybe the UFC should watch videos like this and say, man, you know what? We need to change some things. We can't just throw out fights and say, oh, they'll just watch it. Eventually, people are just going to turn around and say, I'm done. To the people out there that are young and want to have a life, watch the replay. Until the UFC gets their shit together, don't waste your life. I could sit around and watch these events because I have a beautiful family at home. Kids are in bed. I got a great community to hang out with, so everything's good. I could not imagine being 25 years old, sitting in front of a camera for 8 straight hours watching this.